No problem. No problem. So first of all, after this lecture of Ido, I feel like a prehistoric now. All the things that we do, it's like, I don't know, probably, in a couple of years from now, we will think that these things that we do are so ancient. Okay, so my name is Assaf Bernstein. I'm the CEO and founder of KIMA Medical Technology. I've founded KIMA like 6 years ago. We are developing a patch device, a wearable, as you said. A patch device that is carried on a body for a month. The patch device is aimed for monitoring a patient. We are talking about real medicine. The kind of sensor that we put or implied in complying to this patch device are starting from regular ECG, respiratory rate, position, activity level, but above all, we've developed a tiny radar, kind of radar that Dr. Gold was describing. He was describing where he described the Eran, but we've managed to miniaturize the radar into a size of, a few millimeters. And this radar has the ability to measure the hydration of the tissue which stands in front of the radar. And this is very valid for people who suffer from fluid accumulation into their body, a little bit clinical terminology. But in a way, a lot of people are suffering from congested lungs, which is a phenomenon that's related to people who suffer from heart disease, which is called heart failure, CHF. In Hebrew, it's isfikat lev. And by applying this sensor to the body, we hope that they will not, continually go time after time to hospital and can stay safe in their home and be monitored by their caregivers. So this is KIMA. Thank you.
Hi, good morning. My name is Omri Barzeev. I'm a partner and the creative director at Prime. Prime is a design office based in Tel Aviv. We mostly deal with consumer electronic goods and designing a lot of new amazing products that come from the startup in the Israeli industry. A lot of very, very cool startups like Sayo, if you know them, Sensible, Move Interactive, and so on and so on. We mostly put the point of human-centered approach, analyzing human scenarios and usage in order to understand how to design the product in a better way, not just for how it looks, but from its usage point of view.
Hi, Merav Weinryb. I'm with Qualcomm Ventures. We are the investment arm of Qualcomm. We invest in the Qualcomm ecosystem, mainly in mobile. We already invested in companies such as Mantis, which does 3D sensors, and also software companies. We were investors in Waze, and today we have in our portfolio companies like Magisto and Tabtail. Qualcomm is very active in the IoT space, obviously as a leader in wireless communication. We're also integrated into many other devices, and as such, we have developed the All-Join, which is a standard that is aimed into the ecosystem of the IoT, which we call actually IOE, Internet of Everything, and I'll talk about it later maybe. And in investments, we have a very active fund in digital health. We invested in Fitbit, which is one of the leading wearable devices. And in digital home, we invested in companies such as Lifex that does the smart bulbs. So we're very active in the space, looking for good investments in Israel as well.
Hi, my name is Cory Joshua. I'm co-founder and product with Neura. Neura brings artificial intelligence to all of those devices that we are all going to be using in the coming decade. We're doing this by providing each and every one of us with a tool that enables me to analyze data, all of the devices that I use, understand it, basically understand me
Okay, so let's start by talking about hype versus reality. Which markets is IoT going to impact first? We know that there's the wearable market, smart home, smart cars, smart city, and a lot of other markets. Maybe each and every one of you can give a high-level overview of where you see the opportunity, the real opportunity versus maybe hype. Anyone wants to start?
Yeah, I can start.
I'm not sure that we can hear Ori properly, by the way.
So the way that we see things, you know, the IoT basically, the big boom started from those devices, wearable devices, back in 2008 with Fitbit, 2010 with Nike. But even though this is what started the big hype, this is a new category. We think that the big thing in IoT is going to be sensors and connectivity penetrating day-to-day objects that we already use. Our watches, shirts, clothes, shoes. We believe that a few years from now, each and every one of us is going to have use on a daily basis multiple connected devices. And we think that this is where the real value will come, even though those categories are amazing.
Yeah, I will add for this. I will represent here probably at the vertical, which is a huge vertical in this arena, which is the medical arena or the healthcare. And I'm not talking about wellness, because this is now a big hype. You know, people like to run and to make their shape work with all these sensors. Probably most of them will not survive for a long time. But if I'm looking at the real healthcare arena, this is an arena that already started, and you can see you can see companies that are already there. It's not a hype anymore. It's not a question of will it be in the future. It's there. The mHealth, you know, company like MC10, which are developing a substrate for electronic that will be attached to the body. You know, tiny sensor that will run into your bloodstream, etc., etc. So it's there. There's a lot of withdrawals, and we don't go to a lot of disadvantages or maybe challenges in the future, but it's there. There are a lot of companies. The market is growing by double digits for the last, I don't know, something like 5 years. So this market is the Internet of Things, but when it is related to the healthcare system, to the medical system, is there. And the need, of course, is there. I will speak later about the need.
I think MC10 is an amazing example for how this technology will go into blending into our life. We're starting right now, the real trend of blending is turning our wearables into fashion items and putting them inside clothes, and all those wearables that we work on, and the project of Cory Joshua, if I'm getting her name right, that turned the Fitbit into jewelry for women. And MC10 will be the next step, definitely, when they're blending. People don't like to walk their body. To know all the information, you get all the really good insights about their lifestyle, but without the need of charging the device, of putting in a wearable in them, and MC10 when they will blend technology upon our skin, it will be one major steps.
So, you know, we mentioned the consumer electronics and the big things in our home. Merav, maybe you want to say something about Israel as a place where consumer electronics startups can actually thrive. Do we have the right ingredients? Do we have the right talent? And maybe Kickstarter and other trends are helping or disrupting. What do you think?
So, a few years ago, we would probably have the same discussion about consumer internet, and there would be people that will say, no way consumer internet can come of Israel. And today, it was in the paper that Israel has many very successful internet startups. I think same goes with consumer electronics. There's no barrier for smart algorithms, and here we have a competitive edge. So definitely I would be looking forward to invest in consumer electronics companies in Israel as well.
Omri, do you think we have enough design talent here? I mean, you are competing, designing Sensible or SIO, the people that do the design for amazing products like Nest and others. Do you think we can compete on the design?
First of all, I'm sure we can compete. The history shows that everything that we step into, we got to be in the leading teams in the world. And another thing is everything that happened in the valley and in the state, it's after a couple of years, this trend is becoming a huge trend in Israel. And in our studio, we see it every day right now, that those startups that once just thinking about technology and just software, right now are starting to make consumers electronics. And one of the reasons for that, I think, it's the crowdfunding platforms like Kickstarter, Indiegogo, that gave a very easy entry position to those startups, because in really low budget they can check if their product have a validation in the market. If they see that the crowd are behind them, they keep on doing the stuff, and it's really helped them to save money on marketing. Even though you need to do a lot of marketing in the Kickstarter and Indiegogo platform, but we see a huge increase on the startups, in the product startups in Israel. And Ori, I'm sure we will have a lot of things to say about it.
First, I want to say something about you guys. I think you represent a new generation of firms that design pure consumer electronic devices. This did not exist in Israel previously. Israel was very much focused on the technological side of electronics and technology, and the average entrepreneur would usually prioritize tech over experience and product. And you do the exact opposite, which is amazing.
Thank you.
And I think today the technological challenges are much lower. I just grab my average Raspberry Pi or my Arduino, and I'm able to try out and develop a product, wrap it up with a piece of plastic, and launch it. I do not need to develop Raspberry Pi on my own. This enables me to put more emphasis on marketing, on product. These are the things that, in the end of the day, capture the audience. This is what made Nest Nest. It's the experience, it's how I feel when I touch it and when I play with the app. And at the end of the day, it is a thermostat, not more.
I would argue that there are many technological challenges that need to be resolved before IoT really goes to the next level around battery life, energy consumption, size, and others. But I agree that a lot of the consumer electronics products do require design, user experience in mind, software, and other elements today. Let's move on to the healthcare market and try to dive a little bit deeper with your experience, guys. What can IoT do to transform healthcare? What's the value behind using IoT technologies, sensors, processors? What is it going to do to our day-to-day lives?
So I would split into two benefits. One of them is economical benefits, and one of them, of course, if I'm just talking about the healthcare, is of course the benefit for the people. So economical benefit is of course obvious. Today, let's discuss about the U.S. Today in the United States, like 70% out of the GDP is attributed to healthcare. The cost is amazing. It's like $3.5 trillion. Most of it attribute to kind of disease which is called chronic disease. Chronic disease is like diabetes, hypertension, which is high blood pressure, heart failure, heart disease. these kind of diseases are very common today, mainly due to the elderly, more elderly people today, and 75 cents out of each dollar of this 3.5 trillions of dollars, right, to this chronic disease, and the only way to reduce this 70% of the GDP in the United States is to use these kind of technologies, sensors, to keep the patient at home healthy, and that the caregiver, whether it's a nurse or a family member, wherever, can take care of this patient at home. And hospital, we need just to take care of operations or things like this, which are more true medical. So this is the benefit of the economical benefit. The second one is the economic, of course, the benefit for the people themselves. Elderly people that are staying in rural places, far away from their family members, from their sons and daughters, will be able to be tracked better, will be able to live better. So here I see the two benefits in this world, just in my own territory.
Please go ahead.
I think we are going to see, we are seeing actually a trend. Once people were willing to connect themselves, their own body, a new opportunity for preventive medicine opened up. And the trend of wellness that is moving today from the corporate wellness program to the country level is going to make sure that we don't become sick and we don't need healthcare. And I think that this is also very much appealing to the masses. And there are more and more devices that revolve around body that are also penetrating our homes today.
Okay, thank you. I'll add one more question, and then I'd like to see if we can get a question or two from you guys. My last question is, it seems that the chip manufacturers, Intel, TI, Qualcomm, and others come well prepared to the IoT era with connectivity chips and processors and memory chips, whatever is required. They've been working on it for a long time, and there's a huge amount of devices. Is there an opportunity here in Israel to leverage the huge amount of experience and knowledge in semiconductors to create something completely innovative and leapfrog everything that the big guys are doing? Merav, would you like to comment on that?
So first, we see a huge opportunity within sensors, which is also a type of semiconductor. There's a huge place for innovation. Although many were invented, there is a place for new sensors that will improve everyday life on one hand and maybe even contribute to the healthcare ecosystem. So definitely, and I know that many active investors and multinationals are looking for new sensors to enhance their products. So this is one opportunity that has to do with semiconductor. Because, as you said, all the major guys are geared towards this IoT space, still I think that if there is a technology that is totally changing the mathematics of the way a semiconductor works, it's still an opportunity first because corporates are working on their next generation of their older generation, so there's always a limit to what they can do by themselves. And second, in terms of an exit opportunity, all the companies are geared towards this space, and if there's a real innovation there would be nice exit opportunities as well. So definitely an opportunity. I agree that all the companies are focused on this space, and when you decide to do a semiconductor startup, you have to really understand what's happening in the field with the large manufacturers, because everybody is going this way.
Any other thought on the topic of semiconductors?
Regarding semiconductors, it's a big challenge. I mean, we have developed a tiny chip in our device, and it was like, almost crossing the Rubicon, really crossing the ocean. And frankly, in Israel, it's very hard to find money from VCs to develop chips. Just to you need a longer time. You need a marathonist, not only just fast runner, in order to succeed in this market. So it's a big challenge. I think the challenge comes from you, from the VC side.
Well, I agree it's a big challenge, but Israel is known for a very developed semiconductor ecosystem today. Again, there is a global issue with investing in semiconductor. It started in the Valley, went to Israel. But again, as with other domains, if there's a right product with the right investment, everybody will go to it, especially the strategic investors that are focused on the stage, and we're doing it all the time here and in the US.
Let's agree that where's challenge, there's opportunity. So there's not enough money, but
high gain, but high rewards.
You want to add something?
Yeah, we are seeing those companies rising above the silicon level. Initiatives like AllJoin, which is a software bus, are starting to happen also with other big chip players. And maybe this is an opportunity that is not the core business, the historical core business of the silicon players, but you guys are seeing yourselves as responsible for solving connectivity, which is one layer above the chip. And I think that maybe Israeli startups can, when they look at Qualcomm or Intel, and they look at opportunities, they should consider another layer above the existing layer that is more traditional.
So we have 1 more minute, so I'll take one question from you guys. Anybody wants to ask our panelists a question? I'll ask one more question. A lot of people are concerned with privacy and security when they think about IoT, all those devices and all of this data going into the cloud. One quick last thought about security and or privacy as it relates to IoT.
So this is maybe the core value proposition that we are dealing with on a daily basis. The idea of generating intelligence, for us, it means that we need to collect a lot of data about me, about you. And the big challenge in the Internet of Things is how do we make it so that the companies with data monetization business models are the ones that maybe won the first Internet will not be the ones that will win in the physical Internet. We are going to be sharing private, medical, healthcare, body, family, all of those things that are part of my physical Internet. And in order for me to be willing to share and connect them, I need to trust. I need a certain layer that is transparent and enables me to save my data and generate value out of it.
Okay, anyone?
Yeah, I can add for this. I think first of all, after hearing the news yesterday, for example, for this leakage of these pictures out of the iCloud into the net, and that everybody, probably half of the people here, just was looking for Google and trying to download these pictures. But so we're in big problem. I think it's a big problem. Especially I would like to say something about again, sorry for talking all the time about the healthcare system. In the healthcare, it's very private. People don't want that this kind of disease will leak into the improper hands. Therefore, there should be standards. And talking about the healthcare, there are standards like HIPAA or FDA are putting a lot of attention right now on the standards, and we need to be compliant to this. And it will slow a little bit the penetration for this market, but I think everybody's agree that it's reasonable and it's worth the extra work that needs just to keep the privacy.
Merav, last comment.
So, obviously it's an issue, but it seems to me that as with other spaces like mobile or internet, the threats will evolve and then the solutions will come. From an investor point of view, there's an opportunity to start now and be ready when the threats will arrive in 2 to 3 years. So definitely an opportunity there for the Israeli ecosystem.
Okay, I'd like to thank our panelists. Please, a big round of applause for the panelists we have here.